everyone, you're very welcome to this morning's webinar. For those of you who've just logged on, we have already completed a sound check, so thank you to everyone who helped out with that. If you do need to increase the volume, you can do so on your phone, or if you're using the mic and speakers option, you can increase the volume on your computer. So we're going to kick off today's webinar with Paul Byrne, and Paul is the Managing Director here at BrightPay. He's also a chartered accountant, having previously spent 20 years running his own practice. Today, Paul will present Auto Enrolment 5 Steps to Bureau Success, which has been designed for bookkeepers and accountants with payroll clients. Paul will give his fairly unique insight into what Auto Enrolment will mean for bookkeepers and accountants who process payroll for their clients, along with his own thoughts on how you can capitalise from this new business opportunity. Henry Cobb from Trust Pensions was due to present as a guest speaker in the second part of today's webinar. However, due to unforeseen circumstances, he has had to cancel. Henry sends his apologies, and if you have any questions relating to Trust Pensions, you can visit their website www.trustpensions.org.uk. We will have a Q&A session at the end of today's webinar, so as we'll have the extra time, we can get through as many questions as we can. So feel free to type your questions into the questions bar at the right of the screen so that we can get through as many as possible afterwards. We're also running a competition today, and we're giving away 2 free BrightPay 15/16 Bureau licenses. The competition is open to attendees who stay for the entire webinar, and details of the winners will be emailed out to everyone afterwards. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we will send a link to the recording of the webinar along with the presentation slides to all attendees afterwards. So I'd now like to pass you over to Paul Byrne, who will present Auto Enrolment 5 Steps to Bureau Success.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Just a small bit about myself to start off. My background is as a practicing accountant, as Rachel said. I started my own practice back in the 1980s and eventually grew to a 3-partner practice with 10 staff. While in practice, I provided payroll bureau services for a good number of clients, so I have some idea of what it was like in the front line. In 1992, I got into payroll software development. A large part of my reasoning for this was to make better software than what I was using at the time. Eventually, I began working in software development full-time, allowing us to focus on a wider range of software packages, and in particular, our UK payroll software. Today, 80,000 employers across the UK and Ireland use our products, a figure that we are hoping to improve on every year. So here is the agenda for my slot today, which I hope you will find useful and give you plenty of food for thought. When talking, I will often refer to auto enrolment or automatic enrolment simply as AE. For those of you who have tuned into any of our previous webinars, apologies if I end up repeating some of the points previously made. Unfortunately, this is unavoidable. Okay, you can't argue that the UK's payroll landscape has changed forever. The introduction of auto enrolment has brought and is bringing employers kicking and screaming into participating in a workplace pension scheme. What auto enrolment actually means for an employer is that from their staging date or from their deferred date if they're using postponement, all eligible job holders must be automatically enrolled and the employer must make contributions to their pension. All employees must be assessed to determine whether they are eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, or entitled workers. Eligible job holders are those who are aged between 22 and state pension age. They earn above the earnings threshold, which is currently £10,000, and work in the UK. All other employees are either non-eligible job holders or entitled workers, and they can choose to join the workplace pension scheme. Eligible job holders can opt out after being enrolled. So in summary, auto enrolment is something that is optional for the employee, but mandatory for the employer. With auto enrolment comes a number of employer responsibilities. A pension scheme must be set up with a qualifying pension provider, and this should be done in advance of your staging date. This should not require a great deal of time to complete. If you have no eligible job holders, you can hold off registering with a pension scheme until you need to enroll someone. And this is actually the latest Pension Regulator guidance. Next, the workforce must be assessed at your client staging date, and all eligible job holders must be automatically enrolled into a workplace pension scheme unless they are using postponement. All employees must receive communications within 6 weeks of the staging date, not just those who have been enrolled. You must notify eligible job holders, non-eligible job holders, and entitled workers, including those who have been postponed of AE and how they have been affected. Apparently, some employers believe that if they choose to postpone all employees for 3 months at their staging date, then nothing needs to be done in that 3-month period. This is not the case, as all employees must receive a communication within 6 weeks of the staging date relating to the postponement and explaining when they will be enrolled. If this communication is not issued, then the postponement effectively never happened, and enrolment must be completed retrospectively back to the staging date, which would itself be a nightmare. There are also a number of ongoing employer responsibilities, such as handling opt-outs and opt-ins, making deductions and contributions, monitoring employees each pay period, and sending a contribution file to the pension provider. Employers, or you on their behalf, must complete a declaration of compliance within 5 months of the staging date to notify the Pensions Regulator that they have complied with AE. Auto enrolment is being rolled out in stages across all employers and started with the larger employers in October 2012. By October 2018, all employers will be required to offer workplace pension schemes to eligible workers. By the end of September this year, over 60,000 large and medium-sized employers had completed their declaration of compliance, enrolling 5.4 million eligible job holders into a workplace pension scheme. And just a note on that 5.4 million, the actual number of employees employed by those medium-sized and large employers was approximately 20 million, and apparently 10 million of those already had effectively qualifying pension schemes, so they didn't need to be auto-enrolled, and the other 5 million would have been non-eligible job holders or entitled workers. The Pensions Regulator estimates that over the next 3 years, around 1.8 million small and micro employers will need to act as a result of auto-enrolment. You will see from this slide that January 2016 is when the bulk of small and micro employers start to stage. This is the start of the so-called tsunami, and things will definitely get very interesting from there on. A lot of the companies staging before now will probably have had their own HR people or in-house accountant to help them through the enrolment process. The vast majority of those staging from January 2016 will have no in-house expertise. The majority of these employers will not have the knowledge or experience to make informed decisions when it comes to their AE obligations. With the vast quantity of information available, employers are fast becoming confused, bewildered, and overwhelmed. The Pensions Regulator estimates that 78% of SMEs will turn to an accountant, bookkeeper, or payroll bureau. So you have a gift-wrapped business opportunity, and this is business you don't have to go chasing. These clients will require help understanding the implications for them, their employees, and their business. The responsibility for complying with the employer duties rests with the employer. If employers don't comply, they will face enforcement action in line with the Pension Regulator's risk-based approach. The Pensions Regulator will investigate breaches of the law in a fair and objective manner. Enforcement action starts with statutory notices and is followed by penalty notices. Further non-compliance may result in court action. And this risk-based approach uses information from 3 different sources. The first one, the main one, being that the Pensions Regulator doesn't receive a declaration of compliance within the 5 months. The next one is they will get reports from pension providers that, let's say, the payments for the particular registered pension scheme are late or non-existent. And the final major source of information for the regulator is whistleblowing by employees. There has been a total of 3,782 AE cases closed to date. This includes 2,248 compliance notices and 582 fixed penalty notices. A full breakdown can be seen on the Pension Regulator's website. You can be rest assured that these numbers will explode once the small employers enter the fray. Payroll bureaus need to decide if they are ready to take on AE business. With many shying away from offering this as an extra service, bureaus will need to determine what kind of information and support they will offer to help their clients comply with these new AE duties. Advisors will find that a large portion of employers will contact them very close to or even after their staging date. If a client does contact you after their staging date and has done nothing, if their staging date is passed by less than 6 weeks, get them to issue postponement letters to all employees immediately. Otherwise, they will need to backdate AE back to the staging date. Payroll bureaus that want to succeed in this competitive industry will need to predict the evolutionary needs of their clients. Clients will have an expectation that the payroll advisor will present AE advice in a way that is easy to understand, relevant, and actionable. You need to establish yourself as a proactive rather than a reactive AE advisor. Bureaus will naturally increase their income by providing this service in exchange for an initial setup fee plus a monthly retainer to manage the ongoing AE duties or an increased price per payslip. One bureau client mentioned to me that for a 15-employee client, they had charged £400 for handling staging and had upped the price per payslip by 50% to cover the ongoing monitoring and assessment. And in this particular case, the client was delighted to have all that dealt with. Yeah, one of the things I've often heard from accountants is that they can't really charge for AE because their clients won't accept it or can't afford it. Just remember, it's not your fault that AE is coming in, and if you are to take on the responsibility for AE for them, then it is perfectly acceptable that you charge for it. By offering a complete end-to-end solution, bureaus can generate income and enhance client relationships. If bureaus offer other services such as bookkeeping, tax returns, audits, management accounts, etc., they will have a new platform to reach and upsell to this new audience. You will find that employers will be happier to consolidate all their outsourcing services to one person or advisor. There are a number of benefits for your clients who outsource to you for auto enrolment. There will be significant time savings for your payroll clients. By outsourcing AE to a payroll professional, your client can avoid investing huge amounts of time researching how to comply with AE. The implementation of AE could also be very time-consuming if your client doesn't have the correct technology or software in place. Time is money, as the saying goes. Without your help, your clients might choose payroll software that doesn't have AE functionality. Even if it does, some payroll providers are charging an additional charge for AE functionality and a further charge to support your clients through the process. With a bureau, your client can avoid costly mistakes and save time that otherwise would have been taken out of their normal working week. For small and micro employers, their time is extremely precious. Time away from their business is money. Outsourcing AE to a payroll professional frees up their energies and enables them to focus on the core areas of running their business. Implementing AE may require skills that staff do not possess. Outsourcing will provide a level of continuity to the company while reducing the risk of possible non-compliance. As employers begin to tackle the complexities of AE, many will lack the know-how, experience and resources required to deal with their obligations properly. There's little doubt employers are going to need professional help complying and familiarising themselves with their new responsibilities and legal requirements. That's where their accountant, bookkeeper or payroll bureau can step in. Auto enrolment is presenting a considerable opportunity to gain new business, retain clients and increase profits. For those strategic bureaus who will offer AE services, they will certainly have the perfect platform to acquire new clients while simultaneously building a long-term sustainable business. So if you have payroll clients, there are 5 important steps which will allow you to improve profits, engage with your clients, avoid penalties, be open for auto enrolment business, increase revenue and have suitable software in place. So step 1, engage with your clients. Advisors will find that a large proportion of their clients will contact them very close to or even after their staging date. It is important to engage with small and micro employers that have not yet staged to help reduce the number of latecomers. The first thing to do is to find out your client's staging date in order to start planning accordingly. It is possible to look up your client's staging date on the Pension Regulator's website if you have their PAYE employer number. You need to be proactive and notify these clients that you are open for AE business. Communicate your service offering and price it with your clients so that they know who will be responsible for each task. It would be a good idea to send your clients an overview of what auto enrollment will look like at the time of staging. In a few minutes, we will show you a free pre-assessment tool that shows you each employee's work category and gives the client general information about the assessment process. Be aware that if you decide not to process AE, there will be a risk that you will lose some or all of your payroll clients. Step 2, avoid penalties. The impact of AE will affect your client's business now and for the foreseeable future. The Pensions Regulator continues to enforce fines and penalties for non-compliance. Not allowing enough time to plan could lead to your clients being fined. AE penalties range from £50 to £10,000 depending on how many employees your client has. By planning ahead, it will allow you on behalf of your clients to avoid hefty penalty fines. Step 3, be open for auto enrolment business. You do not need to have an in-depth knowledge of AE. However, by understanding employer AE obligations, a bureau can position themselves as an authority figure who is open for AE business. Employers outsource their payroll process to you because you have the know-how and it saves them time and money. Today, with AE, it is not only about cutting costs for employers, but trusting you as a payroll professional to make sure that they are fully AE compliant. Furthermore, some employers may not have the competency, time, or know-how to handle AE themselves. Step 4, increase revenue. AE is presenting bureaus with a unique platform to increase profits. There are a huge number of small and micro employers due to stage between now and 2018. It will be important to capitalize on this window of opportunity. By offering AE as a chargeable service, bureaus can add additional revenue streams, provide added value to existing clients, and increase the possibility of bringing new clients on board. It further provides a competitive edge to you over other bureaus that refuse to provide AE as a service to their clients. Step 5, have suitable software in place. Payroll software will play a vital role in ensuring the success of AE. Ensure the software supports the requirements of auto enrolment. Without the appropriate systems, bureaus will need additional time and resources to cope with AE. You will need to know which employees need to be automatically enrolled and which employees have the option to opt in. Payroll software can access employee pay and other information so as to establish who will be eligible, non-eligible, or entitled. The regulator further urges bureaus and employers to check with their payroll provider to ensure that it will correctly identify the duty you have for each employee and to see if the system will support the requirements of AE. Fortunately, modern innovative solutions exist that can automate AE chores. Armed with the employer staging date, bureaus can now simply enter the date to assess each employee's eligibility for AE at the staging date. Good payroll software will further handle all employee AE communications based on each employee's individual eligibility. And this is where the plug starts. For example, BrightPay is an integrated payroll and AE software solution that is designed to take all of the grunt work out of AE. It allows you to streamline your client's auto enrollment duties, saving you both time and money. With BrightPay, you can benefit from unlimited employers, unlimited employees, auto enrollment functionality, and free phone and email support, all for just £199 plus VAT per tax year. You can also benefit from a 60-day free trial, which has no limitations to the software. Okay, I would now like to hand you over to Vicky for a quick demo showing you just how easy auto enrollment can be with BrightPay. In this example, we're assuming that the employer, or you on their behalf, has already registered with a pension provider, in this case Trust Pensions. So thank you, Vicky.
Thanks, Paul. Now we'll just get set up here.
So, good morning everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. Okay, hopefully everybody can see the screen there. So, yeah, as Paula just mentioned, we'll just give you a quick demo of how BrightPay handles the auto-enrollment process for you. Okay, so as soon as you are in receipt of your staging date, if you go to our dedicated utility here under pensions, you'll see here that we have a dedicated field here for entering your staging date. So by entering your staging date here, this will ensure that your automatic enrollment, that BrightPay will flag your automatic enrollment duties at the correct time for you. As soon as you have details of your pension scheme, this can be set up in advance of your staging date and is simply done within the same pensions utility and by clicking on Add New Scheme here. So currently we offer dedicated support for 14 pension providers and you'll see them here on screen. And if you're with a pension provider that we don't offer dedicated support for, we have an other automatic enrollment scheme option down the right-hand side here for you to set that up there. Okay, so if, for example, we take Trust Pensions here as a pension scheme example, so you simply select your pension scheme from the listing. And for Trust Pensions, you'll be required to enter in your employer code that they've given you. And then on the following screens, then you can then set up your employee groups. Okay, so for example, you may have weekly paid employees, so you may want a weekly group, for example. And as you're setting up each group, you then are given the option to specify the contribution rates that are to apply to the group you're setting up, and also to set the earnings basis, so whether the standard qualifying earnings apply or whether you wish to customize these. Further groups can be added. For example, you may have employees on different pay frequencies or different sets of employees with different contribution rates that will apply to them. So I may have, for example, a monthly group as well that I wish to set up here. Okay, so once your pension scheme is set up, you simply click Save and it's added to your menu bar at the top, ready for you to select when you stage. You also see at the top of the pensions utility here that there is an assessment tool, and this will allow you to perform both a pre-staging and a post-staging assessment of your employees. Okay. There are two options for the pre-staging assessment: to include opt-ins or to do an assessment preview without opt-ins. So if we just generate one on screen here. So you'll see here that this will give you an overview of what auto-enrollment will look like once an employer stages. So for example, what worker category each employee is estimated to fall into, and also what their estimated qualifying earnings and contribution amounts will be. Further down, the document also just contains some general information on employee assessment. And so for payroll bureaus, this might be a useful thing to forward on to clients maybe a couple of months in advance of staging, just to give them an overview of what's likely to happen. Okay, so once you reach your staging date in the payroll, so in this example, I'm using the 1st of January 2016 as my staging date. I'm just going to finalize my pay slips here just to bring me into that pay period. You'll see here that in the pay period in which your staging date falls, BrightPay will kick in with your flags and alerts just to inform you that you have automatic enrollment duties now to perform. So as your staging date hits, BrightPay will automatically assess your workforce for you, and it will establish whether each employee is an eligible job holder, a non-eligible job holder, or an entitled worker. So if we take our first employee here, she's been assessed as an eligible job holder. And if I click on View Options, it will take me through to the options available for this category of worker. So for an eligible job holder, I have the option to enroll her, postpone her, or mark her as exempt if applicable. So in this instance, we will enroll the employee. So simply click on Enroll and select the scheme from the listing. So for example, she's a weekly paid under Trust Pensions. Select the applicable tax relief, and once selected, just press Continue, and that has enrolled your employee for you. Once an employee is enrolled, BrightPay will also automatically prepare your enrollment letter for you to give to an employee. And these letters, simply by clicking on Letter, can then be printed, exported to PDF, or emailed directly to the employee from BrightPay. So if I just do a print preview here, Our enrolment letters are in line with the Pensions Regulators, their April 2015 simplified templates. Okay, and if you're printing them, you have the option here just to set page margins and things like that, and to add your signatory to it. So if we just do a print preview here on screen, you'll see here that we have an extract of this particular employee's enrolment letter, and this is going to give details to the employer of their staging date, what their contribution rates will be, how they can opt out should they choose to do so, and just general information about what auto-enrollment will mean to them. Okay, so once the employee is in receipt of their enrolment letter, you can then just inform the software that this has been done, and that has completed your automatic enrolment duties for that employee. Moving on to the next employee, we can see here that he is being assessed this time as a non-eligible job holder. So we are given the following options for this category, and that is to write to them, inviting them to opt in should they choose to do so, to then opt them in if they come back and say that's what they wish to do, to postpone them, and to mark them as exempt again if applicable. And then similarly, we have an employee here who is being assessed as an entitled worker. And so the options we are given for this category is again to write to them, inviting them to join, to then select the join option then should they wish to join the pension scheme, to postpone, or to mark as exempt. Okay. Should you wish to postpone an employee, all you're simply doing is clicking the postpone button here, and just enter your deferral date, so a maximum of 3 months after the assessment date. So just go forward a little bit here to the 1st of April, and you press continue, and that employee has now been postponed. As per the enrolment letters, BrightPay will also automatically create your postponement letters for you, and again, these postponement letters can be printed, exported to PDF, or emailed directly to the employee as you wish. And again, once the employee is in receipt of the postponement letter, and I'll just generate one onto the screen here for you. Once they're in receipt of that, we can then instruct the software that this has been done. Okay. A useful feature of BrightPay, and especially if you're in a bureau environment, is that you can batch process employees all in the one go. So rather than go through each employee individually, we can enroll or postpone employees all at the same time. So for example here, if we take an eligible job holder, if I go to enroll her here, just choose my scheme again, I can select the option to enroll multiple employees with the same settings. So I can select all, for example, and click enroll selected employees. And all those employees have been enrolled all at the same time with the click of a button. Likewise, your enrolment letters can also be prepared in a batch. And again, when generating your enrolment letter, simply select the option to create or send letters for multiple employees and choose the option applicable. And again, once you've printed, exported to PDF or emailed them all, you can then tell the system that you have completed that action for multiple employees here. Okay, so all those employees have been batch enrolled. Likewise for postponement, you can also batch postpone as well. So again, at the time of postponing one employee, I'm selecting the deferral date. Here, we can select the option to postpone assessment for multiple employees. So we select this option, select the applicable employees and postpone them. And again, the postponement letters can be created in bulk and sent to them, and again, marked as done, all at the same time. Okay. So returning to the payroll screen now, my flags and yellow on-screen alerts have now disappeared. So I've completed my auto-enrollment duties at staging at this point in time. So you'll see here that once employees have been enrolled or have joined or opted in, their pension contributions will now flow through onto their pay slip, and that will be going forward. And if I just finalize their pay slips here for this particular pay period, and just generate a payslip on screen for you. Each employee's payslip, if they have contributions going through, those pension deductions will flow through to their payslip for them. Okay. So where we offer dedicated support for a pension provider, that means that BrightPay can complete the whole process for you in terms of being able to also generate the contributions files and where applicable, the enrolment files for upload into the pension provider. So again, if we take trust pensions here, which has been added to my menu bar when I set them up, they require an enrolment file to be initially uploaded to them. So if I select enrolment summary on the menu bar, I simply click over on the right-hand side to create the enrolment file for upload. So it's a click of a few buttons. So I'm just going to complete step 1. I just need to fill in an opt-out start date here. Just say it's the 1st of January. Okay, click on next. The details of my enrolment file is displayed on the screen. I simply save the file to a location of my choice, and that file is now ready for upload into the pension provider. As you finalize pay periods after staging, you will also be required to upload a contributions file every pay period, and again, BrightPay can take care of that where it's a dedicated pension provider that we offer support for. And again, you'll simply be clicking on contribution summary on the menu bar for your pension provider, followed by create CSV file. Select the pay period in question, and again, just follow the steps through, completing accordingly, and save your contributions file ready for upload into the pension provider. Okay. So where BrightPay, so where you have received an opt-out notice for an employee, BrightPay can also handle that for you. So on receipt of an opt-out notice from your pension scheme, all you need to do is click into Employees here and select the employee in question for whom you've received an opt-out notice for. Every employee will have an automatic enrolment utility within their employee records, so simply select that. And if they're in their opt-out period, you will have the opt-out option on screen here. So we simply select opt-out, type in their opt-out reference, press continue, followed by yes. And if the employee has already made contributions and have then chosen to opt out, BrightPay will then refund any contributions already paid in the next open pay period for you. Okay. For your reporting needs, the analysis function within BrightPay can be used to create automatic enrolment reports. So you can simply click on New Report, like so, and you can choose the criteria which you wish to run a report for. So for example, you may wish to run a report on worker category, enrolment date, opt-in dates, cessation dates, for example. Or if you want to just run a report on your particular pension scheme, for example, here, I can run a report on my contributions for trust pensions. Click on OK, and I can display my report on screen. Any reports that you generate can then be saved, and they can be saved as a favorite report, so you can select them in the future without having to create them all again. And all reports can be printed or exported to CSV or Excel and further edited if required. Okay, so just a couple of little things just to finish with. Just back in the pensions utility here, under the automatic enrolment screen, once you've completed your declaration of compliance within your 5 calendar months of staging, you can make a record of this in BrightPay in the field provided. So, for example, I may have done it on the 1st of March. And also down the bottom here, if you have gone with a pension scheme that are taking care of the communication side of things for you, some pension schemes are offering that, then you don't need BrightPay to do your letters, your enrolment letters and postponement letters for you. So what you can instruct BrightPay here is to turn off those alerts that you have communications outstanding. And that is simply done by unticking the buttons here. Okay. So once you've staged and you've met your automatic enrolment duties, BrightPay will continue to monitor your employees for you. So for example, you may have a new employee join you after staging, So if a new employee joins, BrightPay will monitor that employee for you and then will alert you to any automatic enrolment duties for them. Well, likewise, an employee may turn 22 and have qualifying earnings. So again, BrightPay will flag that to you. Okay, so that completes the demonstration of BrightPay. I'll now pass you back to Paul.
Okay, thanks, Vicky. And just a couple of other things to point out in relation to BrightPay payroll software. We're shortly doing a release, an upgrade, which will include the new Nest API. So, where Vicky showed you there the process of actually creating a file and saving it to a location on your machine and then actually uploading that file separately. The Nest API will communicate directly with the Nest server, much like the way RTI performs. So it should be a one-button click, effectively, when you're dealing with Nest. Other APIs will follow in due course. Another thing as well that we have on that particular upgrade is HMRC Basic PY Tools import, which will be very handy for small employers who have been using the Basic PY Tools. And it's particularly appropriate because any of those employers who are coming into auto enrolment, Basic PY Tools itself doesn't handle automatic enrolment. There is a toolkit being provided by the Pensions Regulator, but effectively that is just a spreadsheet. So the Basic PY Toolkit users will basically have to transfer information from their Basic PY tools to the Pension Regulator toolkit, back again into the Basic PY tools, and then actually physically enter the details on the Nest website for each employee. So that'll be quite time-consuming, laborious. It certainly won't be worth the free software that they've opted for in the first place. So it's one of the things that we're hoping that a lot of those users will see that a huge amount of time will be saved to them, and errors, by going to proper paid software. And in a lot of cases, actually, because they may only have up to 3 employees, they'll get that free anyway. But I suppose if any of you are advising small employers, one of the great things about it is it will automatically bring in all the information from the Basic PY tools. Pre-staging, it'll do an assessment so that you can advise your clients as to exactly what auto enrollment will mean to them prior to the staging. They may decide to use you to do their payroll, which is, that's perfect because you get that business, and the client is helped as well. Alternatively, you may not want to have them as a payroll client, in which case, BrightPay will be able to take up that task. So that's a couple of things I wanted to point out about what's coming up.
Yeah, I'll just go through a few quick points here. Apologies again that Henry Cobb couldn't make it today and the webinar is cut short. Just in the follow-up email, we'll include a link to book a demo for auto enrollment guides and for information about upcoming webinars. So our next webinar is on Tuesday the 24th of November, and we're delighted to announce it's our first ever CPD accredited webinar. And auto enrolment training for payroll bureaus will give attendees a comprehensive overview of auto enrolment along with 2 hours CPD. So just to go through the pricing of BrightPay, BrightPay's bureau license includes unlimited employers, unlimited employees, free phone and email support, and auto enrolment functionality for just £199 plus VAT per tax year. We also have a 50% discount at the moment for new customers. Here's just a few quick statistics from a recent customer survey. And I'd also like to mention that we are a preferred supplier of tax assist accountants, and we are accredited by the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So now we get to the questions and answers, and we do have a good few questions coming through here. So feel free to type your questions into the questions bar at the right of the screen. So the first one here, is the API only applicable to a Nest pension scheme?
Is the API only applicable to it? Well, that's the only one that we have at the moment. There are other APIs, I think, being planned by the various pension providers. There's also like a middleware tool. What's their name? System sync or pension sync. We do intend to actually have that facility available in BrightPay in the future as well, which is kind of a link to some of the providers that don't actually have their own APIs. But at the moment, yeah, the Nest API is the only one that is up there, and it is live with Nest. But we don't actually have the upgrade out yet, but hopefully it'll be sort of later on this week or next week, but it's imminent.
Okay. Is there a facility for sending out letters to employees prior to staging to provide an explanation of AE?
Within BrightPay, no, we only cater from staging. But I think Paul is on the Pensions Regulator
website has various
templates.
And they also suggest things like putting notices up in the canteen. They give you the sort of the recommended sort of layout of those. I think you can actually download them as PDFs or whatever. But yeah, no, it's not something unfortunately that we do within BrightPay itself. But the Pensions Regulator does have plenty of resources for that.
Okay. As far as the actually setting up the pension scheme in the first place, do BrightPay have any recommendations as to where the client should start? Is this really an area that the client would need to look at themselves?
Well, ultimately, it is the client's responsibility to choose the pension scheme. Now, they obviously will turn to you for guidance on this. The Pensions Regulator has issued a booklet, a PDF booklet on their website on basically choosing a pension scheme, and it suggests some decision processes that you should go through in making that decision. There are a number of also online tools available out there. One that I can think of at the moment is the Pension Playpen, in which you put in the various details about what your preferences are for a pension scheme, and it will come up with recommendations. It is something that is causing a lot of confusion with not just clients, but a lot of accountants as well that we deal with don't know where to start on this particular subject. I think at the end of the day, if there's a number of things you need to look at. You need to look at whether, first of all, whether the pension you're going to choose is compatible with the systems that you have. That's probably the most important thing. The next thing is, for example, is it important that the pension you choose has government backing? Nest is the only one of those that fits that particular criteria at the moment. Other things would be, will the pension be able to accept all employees and all employers? Because again, some pension schemes may not accept, lower paid employees because they're not profitable, whereas the likes of Nest or Smart Pensions and a few others would accept those. Other things would be like, does it cater for salary sacrifice? Does it cater for net pay arrangement? So there's, there are various number of things that, you as an accountant will probably be able to help your client in choosing the pension scheme. So hopefully that will be of assistance.
Okay. When will the Nest API become live and be available to use? And will there be a webinar outlining this? Kind of half answered that already.
Well, yeah, again, hopefully it will be live for BrightPay, hopefully next week. Failing anything coming up in testing that is unforeseen at this stage. It's actually live with Nest themselves. So, by the time the so-called tsunami hits on the 1st of January, it will certainly be up and running at that stage. As to a webinar, well, actually that's a good idea. We hadn't actually considered that. It may be difficult because Nest haven't actually provided us with, say, a test site that we can, show submissions going to and from. So I don't know how we'd actually set that up. But something we
can look into it, yeah.
Okay. Are you planning on adding to the 14 pension providers?
Yes. Yeah. I suppose where demand is, so if you are with a pension provider that we don't currently cater for specifically, do get in contact with us. It's something we can certainly take a look at. Often it's just a case of getting the file specification, and if it's easily done and it's maybe proved to be a popular one, then we will most certainly would consider bringing it in, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can an assessment be done at any time pre-staging so that this can be done as a planning tool several months before staging?
Yeah, that's part of BrightPay actually has that facility. I think Vicky you might have quickly shown that.
Yeah.
It does actually, it does a pre-staging assessment review. What it'll do is it'll show a snapshot of what staging will what will happen on staging, assuming that present income levels remain the same up until that time. So yeah, it's a powerful tool because in terms of advising your clients, you can send them a copy of this particular preview well in advance of staging, so it'll tell them exactly how much auto enrollment is going to cost them, and it'll also tell them whether they actually have eligible job holders, so whether they need to actually get a pension scheme register with a pension scheme in advance or not.
Okay. Are you able to change the narrative that is shown on the payslip for pension? Our clients have legal in general and the word pension isn't mentioned in the narrative.
I think that's hard coded at the moment, Paul, isn't it? I think it's just a default description, but we can certainly, the only workaround I can think of at the moment is the notes option on the payslip to add a note just to say it's, to mention legal in general. But at present it's set in stone, that description.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to attend the CPD webinar, but I'm unavailable on the 24th of November. Will it be recorded? And I guess I'll answer that one. The webinar itself will be rerun again on the 7th of December, sorry. So if you can't make the one on the 24th of November, you can get the one on the 7th of December. If both are unavailable, it will be recorded, but only people who actually pay for the event will get the recording of the webinar. So I think that's all the questions that have come through for today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in with us, and apologies that it was cut short today. So I'd like to thank Paul and Vicky as well.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.